And I'm Robert, and this is our game Penny Press. In Penny Press, you're a newspaper baron at the end of the 19th century.
It's the era of yellow journalism and Spanish-American War, automobiles, electricity. It's a time of great change in New York City. It's also a very exciting time to be in the news business.
The goal of the game is to publish the best stories at the right time and be the player who furthest moves their score marker along the circulation track.
And here's how you play.
In Penny Press, there is two main ways of scoring. The first way is to pick up the stories from the board, lay them out on your front news page, and score as many points as you can that way.
The second way is to be the most successful newspaper in each of the 5 news categories or news beats here. We've got war, crime and calamity, politics, New York City, and the human condition. And you get those bonus points by getting the most stars. See, on each stack, we have each story has either 1, 2, or 3 stars. 1 on the top, 2 on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 3 on the bottom. So the more stars, the bigger star stories will come out later. So whoever has the most stars in each news category gets the bonus points that are tracked up here. And these bonus points move up. As more cards come up, we'll add more bonus points. You don't really know what the bonus points are going to be like in the beginning.
At this point, we've set up the board almost completely for 4 players. In fact, the one thing that is left is to turn over 1 more card, and we'll show you what that means. Matt.
So you get 1 card per player just to set up the board. So take a look at the card. First thing we do, the card is we read the story, and this is the separate but equal, upheld by the Supreme Court. So then we look at the bonus, and so we move the bonus marker for politics up 2. So again, at the end of the game, if the game ended right now, the bonus, whoever had the most stars in politics would get 6. But again, those are going to keep moving up. Second thing we do is we put stories on, and this card has 2 stories. Cards either have 2 or 3 stories on them. So we've got a square story, the C story in politics, and the big D story in the human condition. We put that out on the board.
Notice that Matt puts the stories sideways. Whenever stories come out from these stacks, they are placed on the board sideways. So for the square story, it doesn't matter, but to be consistent, there you go. The final thing we do is to shuffle these arrows all the way down to the top of the stack. We've drawn 1 card for each player, so that's 4 cards. We've put all those stories out on the board. We've adjusted the bonus track, and now we're ready to start playing.
So there's 4 basic things you can do on your turn. You can assign reporters, and that means you take as many reporters as you want from your supply or your newsroom, and you put them on 1 story on the board. Second thing you do is you can reassign. That means you take 1 reporter that's already on the board on a story somewhere, and you move him or her from 1 story to another story. Third thing you can do is recall some reporters. You can recall as many reporters from the board back to your newsroom as you want. So here I'll grab 2 back. And the 4th thing you can do is to go to press. We'll go into that in more depth later.
In between turns, and this is really important, you need to readjust the news beats. Now what does that mean?
So when you assign reporters to a story, this is the era of yellow journalism. So journalists will get in there and they kind of stir the pot and make the story maybe more exciting. So the value of the story goes up. For every occupied story, every story that has reporters on there reporting on it, this scoring marker moves up, and you follow the arrow to see what the value is. So this story, if you took this story back to your newspaper, it would be worth 3. See how the arrow is pointing to the 3? Let's put some more reporters on another story.
So if I put reporters over here, there is now 2 covered stories. This means that we leave 2 empty spaces in between the arrow and the top of the newsbeat. If I had another reporter over here, that's still only 2 covered stories. We'd still only leave 2 empty spaces. Now that you know how to adjust the news beats and what you can do in your turn, let's play a few sample turns. I'll be playing green. Matt, you'll be playing yellow.
I'll be playing yellow. These go back.
So we've set up the board like it was at the beginning of the game after we did setup. And I am looking at the board, and this little yellow story here looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to put 2 meeples on. I'm assigning reporters, and I'm adjusting the news beat right away. Matt.
All right, so it's my turn. So it's a little early to tell what's going to happen with the bonus, because every time someone goes to press, we turn over a new card, new stories come out, the bonus markers values will change. So I don't really know what the end bonus scores are, but right now I see that politics in New York City and even war are pretty high, so I might be biased in trying to get one of those. Robert jumped on the 2-star war story, so I think I'm going to jump on this 2-star New York City story. And again, in between turns, I'm actually going to put assign 3 reporters. Remember, when you assign, you can take as many meeples from your newsroom as you want, but they only can go to 1 story. That goes up, 1 occupied story, 1 space in between the stack of stories and the scoring arrow.
All right, what do you think the blue player would do, Matt?
The blue player is just going to play it conservatively. It's just going to go on this small human interest story, human condition, and see how the board comes out when it comes around to blue's turn again.
And the black player will also be pretty conservative, like that. And then it comes back around to green again. Now I'm looking at my front page, and of course I want to have some decent coverage on it. So green thinks that it is a good idea to put some more reporters out on a bigger story. I'm adjusting the news beat.
And by bigger, he means size, because we try to cover, if you look at the newspaper front here, these are all negative points. Whatever spaces you don't cover on your newspaper, those are going to be worth negative points to you. So you want to try to cover as much as possible. At some point, of course, it's going to be impossible to do that. You're going to try to grab stories before the other players get them too. So you're not always going to cover your entire front page, but the more you can cover, the fewer negatives you get. Still my turn, huh? I think I'm going to send my last 2 reporters out to cover this politics story. And 1 occupied story, 1 space in between the stack of stories and the scoring marker.
And then blue goes.
All right, blue's going to make a bigger move here. Blue's going to move in on black. So now blue has 2 reporters on there to black's 1. So if blue goes to press, blue will get that story. If black goes to press, that reporter will get stuck there. It won't go anywhere because black doesn't have the majority or time.
On black's turn, black decides to take a position on this story, which moves the news beat up by 1. And now it is my turn, and I decide to go to press. So when I go to press, I take the stories that I have either an equal amount or more meeples on than anybody else from the board. And in this case, I'm the only person on these stories. So there they go. I only have 2 stories, but that's okay. I now need to make a newspaper, and there's a couple of rules that I have to follow. First of all, I have to decide what is the top news beat. The top news beat is the news beat with the highest value. In this case, it's war with a value of 5, because crime and calamity is 2, politics is 3, New York City is 4, and the human condition is only 4. So my war story needs to go on the top of my page. What that means is it needs to cover 1 of those or more of those -2 spots. I can put it right here, and that satisfies that condition. Any other stories may be placed on my page anywhere I like them. So this story goes right here, covering up the -2 spots and leaving only a few -1 spots open. That's a good decision. I can choose an exclusive. An exclusive is the newspaper story that my newspapers go out on the streets with and yell, "Extra, extra, read all about this story that you can only find in this newspaper." An exclusive is a story from a non-top news beat. So in this case, human condition, which is not the top. And it has to touch the top of your page. Then you can make it an exclusive. You can only have 1 exclusive. So I'm making this human condition story my exclusive. And because it's an exclusive, it will score double. Let's score this front page. I get 5 points for this story. 2 times 4 points for this story, which is 8, and -2. 8, 13, 11. 11 points for green. I'm not done yet. These stories are going away. I keep them laying to the side because the star values will become important for the end of the game to score the bonus values. I take a penny, put it in the lowest available penny spot on my newspaper, and I have to take a card. The card has 4 steps. First, I read the story. The report of my death was an exaggeration. Author Mark Twain was reported dead by a leading New York newspaper while he was on assignment in London. Then I scored a bonus value. 3 points for human condition. 1, 2, 3. Now stories come out. Matt.
So one of these, go on the side.
And remember, we put them sideways. If there's ever not enough space to put a story, I can just move the arrow up. The position of the arrows was important while scoring. It is now no longer important. Finally, I put an ad in the row of my highest penny, and it goes right in that spot as indicated by the advertisement on the card. Important to remember, a newspaper will only ever have one advertisement. The next time I publish, I get a penny here, and this advertisement will move according to the card I draw then, again in the row of my highest penny in any spot. Right now, right there. The last thing we need to do is adjust the news beats. In this case, that means that all these stories are being shuffled down so that the lowest story covers the X, and all the stories form a continuous stack up from there. Then we put the arrows in the right place, one covered story, one space in between, one covered story, one space in between, one covered story, one space in between, one space in between, and one space in between. The card can now be discarded, and it becomes Matt's turn.
And so play continues until one player has gone to press for the third time in a 4 or 5 player game, or 4 times in a 2 or 3 player game. And that triggers our end game, or what we call the final edition.
We've played a few more turns of penny press at this point in time. Black has just gone to press for the second time. He was the last player to do so, and scored some good stories, then turned over a card, which brought out this beautiful crime and calamity story that's laying right here with 3 stars on it. So I think green is going to take a position on that and adjust the news beat.
All right, and I'm on 3 stories right now. I'm not sure I can improve my position. All my reporters are on the board, so all I can do is reassign a reporter. And I know Black coming up has all their reporters back in their newsroom. That's one thing. When you go to press, you get all your reporters back in the newsroom. You have a chance to make a big play the next turn. So you have to watch out. After someone goes to press, they've got some options on their turns. I guess I'm going to go to press. I think that's my best move right now. And since I've gone to press twice, this will be my 3rd time. Me going to press for the 3rd time is going to trigger the end game or the final edition. So let's do that. So I'll take that story. I'll take this story back. And we've got a scoop situation here. So let's go over how that works.
Blue got the story, but he didn't get to it first. He will publish it on page 3 or 4 of the newspaper, and will get some readers for that. In this case, that is represented by the scoop value of the story, that the value that the little s points at, 2 points. So immediately as yellow picks up that story and scoops blue, we award blue the scoop points, 2 points for blue.
And blue's reporter goes back to his newsroom, but I get the story. All right, so let's look. What's the top news beat? It looks like the top news beats are crime and war. So I've got a crime and a war story. They both have to go at the top of the page. I guess I'll put them like that. How am I going to do this? I'll do it like that. So I've got one other story. I can fit that also at the top of my page. That means I can make that other story an exclusive. Kind of funny looking paper, but that should score. So I get 4 points for the war story, 4 points for the crime story. This is my exclusive. I can double that, so that's another 4. So that's 12 minus 3 is 9 points. And I am at 32. And I'll take one more penny and I will be done. I don't have, so once I've gone to press for the 3rd time, that's it. I'm all done for the game.
We no longer draw any cards, and we no longer adjust the news beats. And the way we show that is by the moment that Matt goes to press, we turn over these markers to the red side. Just as a friendly reminder that these are frozen, they no longer move. All the other players that have not gone to press yet get 2 more turns. Their first turn is a normal turn, with the one exception that they can only use 1 meeple if they assign, reassign, or recall reporters. The turn after that will be a turn on which they can only publish. So blue has their first of their 2 turns, and what do you think blue will do?
Blue only has 1 story covered right now. What is blue? Blue's trying to go for bonuses in New York.
New York will be worth 6 points at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But that is probably their best shot, right?
Yeah, I think so. What about that crime? You can't get that crime because it can't fit those 2 stories both onto the page. I can only assign 1 in the final edition, the end game. I can only assign 1 reporter. I can only do things with 1 reporter.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I think I'm going to jump here. Actually, I think this makes the most sense.
All
Then
right.
I can tie for human condition. And again, we don't move the arrows. The arrows are red. We don't touch them. Board's frozen.
No
there.
touching of the arrows. Now black will not score any points on the newspaper. That's pretty much a given because it doesn't have any position on the board. So black is really just looking at star value. Because the good news is you cannot score less than 0 points for your newspaper. So black clearly has tried to get an interest in yellow, but the yellow story here is already being reported on by green, who is clearly going to win yellow. So black is not too happy about that.
Black probably go for the big red story.
I think so as well. That makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So black's
gone.
gone.
Pretty smart for red.
Green looks at the board and says, this is a good time to go to press for me. Because there's nothing I can do to improve my position. So going to press is probably the right choice at this point. Picking up the 2 stories that I have the majority of meeples on, which in this case, I'm the only one. I put these on the newspaper.
So take a look. What do you have what's the top news beats?
Top news beats, war and crime are both top news beats. Now, that works out okay because I can put them on the newspaper in such a way that both of them are touching those top spouts. I can't really put them in such a way that this -2 is covered, so I'm going to have to take an extra minus point because of that, but that's all right.
Downside is you don't get an exclusive.
I do not get an exclusive,
You didn't get another story up at the top.
Because I do not have a story from a non-top newsbeat that touches the top of my page. So here we go. 4 points for that. 4 points for that. 8 points. -3. I count 5 points for green.
5 points, 31.
31. We'll see where that gets me.
And
Put
now
the
you're
stories
done.
to
Take
the
your
side.
third penny. You're all done.
I'm all set.
Comes around to me. Yellow's all done. Back to blue. So this is blue's second mini turn in the final edition. All blue can do is go to press.
Go to press.
All right. Now blue doesn't have any stories from top news beats. So either one of these can be the exclusive. It doesn't matter. He gets both of them at the top. So one will be worth 6, one will be worth 3, so that's 9 points minus 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 points for blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's
All
it for
right.
blue.
And then black finally also goes to press, and we already determined that even though this is worth 4 points, because it's top newsbeat, top of the page, there is -4 points there already, so it would be -3, but there's a minimum of 0. So that is perfectly fine for black. Minimum 0 points.
But black gets that third star in crime and calamity, and I think that's going to do
That
good things
might
for
be
black
worth
at the end.
something.
Yep. All right.
All right, right now we're going into final scoring. So we're looking at the bonus track, and from lowest to highest, we're going to evaluate who won those points. First, yellow, the war category.
So who was the best?
Worth 5 points. Who has the most stars in yellow?
So who best reported yellow? I've got 3 stars in yellow. So I've got two stories, but 3 stars total.
I see another 3 stars in yellow here.
Okay.
But I think I'm taking the pie
You
with
get the-
4
you get
stars
4
in
stars.
yellow over here.
So 5
So
for
5
green,
points for green.
36.
All right. Next, it is the gray
York
category,
City.
New York City.
Who best
worth
reported
6
on New
points.
York? I've got 2 here. We got 4 stars here.
I don't have any.
Looks like blue gets that.
Blue
so
gets
how many
the
points?
6 points.
32.
There is 7 points for the human condition.
I've got 3 in that one. I might win that one.
There's another 3 there.
3. How many do you have?
I only have 2.
All right.
So we have tied players, 3 and 3 stars for both matte yellow and blue. That means that both players get the points. So 7 points for
Blue and
both
yellow.
blue and yellow.
We happen to be on the same spot, so that makes it easy. So 32 to 39.
39. But the race is not over yet. We have blue, 10 points for politics. Who did politics? I got 1 point there. 1 point, 1 point.
Or 1 star. I think we're counting stars.
Stars, I'm sorry.
I got 4 stars in politics. So it
You
looks
got
like yellow
4 stars.
gets the bonus points 10.
10 more points for yellow.
So to 49.
That may win
Last
the
one.
game.
Let's see.
Because there's an 11 points on crime. I take the 11 points.
We've got 3, 2. Well, you got.
I got 5.
5.
I got
you win
5.
the crime. You were the crime reporter this
I
time.
win those 11 points.
So you go to 47, but it's not quite enough.
It's not quite enough to beat yellow. And Matt wins.
All
I
right.
gotta say that happens quite a bit.
I wish it happened more often than it does.
All right, thank you for watching our little how to play playthrough. You can find more about us on www.pennypressgames.com.
Or find us on Board Game Geek, and we have a Facebook page.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In between turns, and this is important, you need to readjust the news beats. What does that mean? What does that mean?
What does it all mean?